management is an interesting topic because I see organizations, or we generally within Value Glide, we see organizations who either don't measure anything or very few things. And then we see organizations that measure a lot of things. But a question I always ask, is when people ask for a measure is, what are you going to do? What is the decision that you're going to make based on that measure? And when people struggle, it just means that they've just heard about the measure, a new measure that they just want to add to the series of measures that you have. So measurements have costs, just measuring for the sake of measuring is pointless. The other thing that I also add, or we would say, is that there are two types of measures, if you like, that we should be aware of. One is system-wide measures. In other words, they're the ones that are long-lasting and persistent. They just give us a view of the health of the system. And then they are the other ones, which are diagnostic and learning measures that we need to have. Think about it. If you go to a GP, the GP looks at you and just, have a look. They might take a temperature and blood pressure and say, yeah, it's all good. But if they suspect something, then that's the other kind of measure, the diagnostic measure, to say, I don't know, go do a blood test or an X-ray or MRI, because now they're trying to investigate what is wrong. I think within our world as well, we need to be thinking about those. And when we add a measure, we got to sort of think about, okay, what is this measure going to, is this a problem or diagnostic kind of measure, in which case, how long is it valid for? When do we stop measuring this stuff? And when we get the measures, how do we act on it? Now, to go back to the actual question of, how, so with that context, hopefully that will help us to now sort of say, okay, what does a good team look like? So again, the first thing to think about is what do you mean by a good team? Now, and the other thing I will also ask is organizations, managers, senior managers, they will ask for more detail when they're not comfortable with what's happening. So when people start to micromanage and ask for fine-grained detail, that means that that's actually a signal that something else is wrong. So if they're happy with the delivery, they're happy with what's happening, it's very unlikely they come in there and say, well, tell me that person over there, how many times did they click on the keyboard? You don't get those kind of things. If the products are going out, we're getting more market share, more value is coming in, customers are leaving fantastic reviews and recommending us, very, very unlikely that somebody will come in and say, I want to measure the productivity of this team. So those requests that come in, I would use them as a signal to start and think, what is the underlying reason that people are asking for these measures? So think about those as well. Now, what about the measures? So we have delivery throughput measures, which sort of say the output measures, if you like. How many things, how many stories do we deliver? How long does it take for a story to get done? What is the quality like? The escape defects. Those are all, if you like, output kind of measures. But when the outcomes aren't right, that's when people start to looking at these output measures. I'm not getting the customer reach. I'm not getting the increase in revenue that I was after. So give me the details. Let me understand these. And as a Scrum Master or sort of a delivery manager, yes, we want the output measures because they are the early indicators of, are we potentially getting to the aim that we want? So look at, I would say, things like how many stories we are delivering, how long does it take to deliver them, and about the quality is escape defects. In other words, when we say it's done, do we find later on that there is a problem that we missed? So that's a quality measure that we need to start to say, okay, how could we have found that earlier? Let's build those practices in to stop that. And then the other part of the question was about the maturity of the team. So maturity is an interesting word, and I sometimes personally struggle with it. What do we mean by the maturity of the team? What does that mean? The team has been working together for many days, they're mature now, or they are using XYZ practices, a lot of it. So again, as within Value Glide, we always want to come from outcome, if you like, outside in. So what is the outcome we are trying to achieve? And what are the practices? If maturity, we think of maturity as, is the team exhibiting the practices and behaviors that we believe will lead us to better outcomes? Then think of it that way, and then start to measure those things. But maturity for the sake of, are we doing these events? Are we having all these events? Have we got this? Have we got that? Those are basically hygiene factors that, you know, as whatever framework method you're using, once you are using that, you should be doing that, of course. Are you following the framework and the method that you're using? If you're using Scrum, do you have the Scrum events? Do you understand the intent behind them? It's not just like a tick box exercise. Why are they there? What's the purpose of them? And then follow it. If you're cherry picking, I do a bit of this, a bit of that, then you're not doing Scrum or any other framework, so or method. So that's, yes, from that aspect of it, yes, if you like, if you look at the maturity as a checklist of, are we following what is supposed to be, what's built into this framework? Yes, there is usefulness in that. But beyond that, I would think it's hard